So let's discuss the first problem. A lossless transmission line is 80 centimeters long and operates at a frequency of 600 megahertz. If L is 0.25 microhenry per meter and C is 100 picofarad per meter, we have to find the characteristic impedance, phase constant, and the phase velocity. So L here is the inductance per unit length of the line and C is the capacitance per unit length as discussed earlier. So the solution goes like this. So we have to find the characteristic impedance first, and it is mentioned that the line is lossless, which means that R is 0 and G is 0. So recall that it is the resistance of the line which results in a loss in the form of heat, and so is the conductance, because the conductance per unit length G, the shunt conductance, effectively it shorts the signals. So with R and G as 0, we have the lossless transmission line, and since the characteristic impedance is square root of Z by Y, that is R plus J omega L by G plus J omega C, that is how we calculate the characteristic impedance, which becomes, in this case, since R is 0, G is 0, omega J gets cancelled and you get square root of L by C, which you can easily calculate because L is 0.25 microhenry per meter, 0.25 into 10 power minus 6 Henry per meter, and C is 100 picofarad per meter. It is 100 into 10 power minus 12 farad per meter, and you get the answer as 50 ohms. Next, we have to find out the phase constant and the phase velocity. So we find out what is gamma. You can refer to the previous videos to know what is gamma. The gamma was arrived at in the previous videos. So gamma is alpha plus j beta. Alpha is the attenuation constant and beta is the phase constant. And gamma is calculated as square root of Z into Y, that is square root of R plus J omega L into G plus J omega C. Again, since the line is lossless, R is equal to 0, G is equal to 0. So gamma becomes square root of R is 0, G is 0, square root of J omega L into J omega C. That becomes minus omega square L into C under root, which you can write as J omega root L C. So you can see that gamma has a purely imaginary part, which is so because it is a lossless line and hence the attenuation constant is 0. So we can directly compare the real and imaginary parts here and arrive at the relation that beta is equal to omega root LC. Omega is 2 pi into, it is given in the data that the frequency is 600 megahertz. So omega is 2 pi into 600 into 10 power 6. So that is in hertz, 2 pi 600 into 10 power 6 into square root of L into C. So L into C, if you calculate, L and C is given here, 0.25 microhenry per meter and C is 100 picofarad per meter. So L into C under root, you get this, which you can evaluate and find out as 18.85 radians per meter. And of course alpha is 0. So that gives us the phase constant. Now the phase velocity. Now again, from the previous discussions, the phase velocity is omega by beta, which in this case we can easily calculate. 2 pi into 600 into 10 power 6, this is the frequency of operation. So 2 pi into that frequency gives omega. And beta we arrived at here, 18.85. So divide the omega which you have here by the beta which you have calculated. You get the answer as 200 into 10 power 6 meters per second. That is nothing but 2 into 10 power 8 meters per second. And you can see that the velocity of propagation is less than C, which is 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. Okay, now moving on to the second problem. At an operating frequency of 500 megaradians per second, so note that the frequency is given here in radians per second, operating frequency of 500 megaradians per second, R is 0.2 ohms per meter. So this is actually not a lossless line because R is not 0. L is 0.25 microhenry per meter. G is 10 microsiemens per meter. Again, you can see G is not 0. It is not a lossless line. and C is equal to 100 picofarad per meter. We have to find alpha, beta, that is the attenuation constant and the phase constant, lambda, the operating wavelength, which we can find from the frequency, of course. We'll explain it. I'll explain it here. The phase velocity and the characteristic impedance. So one by one, gamma is alpha plus j beta, as we know already. That is under root z into y, where z is r plus j omega L, y is g plus j omega c. All these are given in the data. R is given, omega is given. Remember, frequency is given as omega. You don't have to convert it to omega now, thinking that it is in frequency. It is already in radians per second. So R plus j omega into g plus j omega c. R is 0.2. L is given to be 0.25 microhenry per meter, and omega is 500. So together, omega into L will be this, which you can easily calculate. G is 10 power minus 5, because it is 10 microsiemen per meter. So 10 microsiemen is 10 power minus 5 siemen per meter. And omega c is 0.05, which again C is given, omega is given. You can see that this is what it turns out to be. And when you evaluate this, you multiply and take the square root, you get the result like this, which means that this is alpha plus j beta, because it is gamma that we have been calculating. Alpha is 0.00225, that is 2.25 into 10 power minus 3 Napier per meter. Don't write it as N by M, it becomes newtons per meter. So NP, you have to write it as Napier per meter, 2.25 into 10 power minus 3 Napier per meter. And beta is, so this is Napier, N-E-P-E-R. Beta is 2.5 radians per meter. It's obvious here, it's 2.5 radians per meter. Now moving on to the, so we have found out alpha and beta. Now moving on to the wavelength. Beta is 2 pi by lambda. Again, we know that, we have discussed that earlier. So lambda becomes 2 pi by beta. We have beta here as 2.5. So 2 pi by 2.5 gives 2.51 meters. So that is lambda. And then we have to go for the phase velocity. Phase velocity is again omega by beta, something that we have discussed earlier. So omega by beta is the phase velocity, and omega is 500 into 10 power 6. It is given as 500 mega radians per second. So 500 into 10 power 6 divided by beta is 2.5, which we have calculated here. Where is that? So beta is 2.5. So divided by 2.5, you get the result as, again you see that the velocity is less than c. It is 2 into 10 power 8 meters per second. And finally, the characteristic impedance, root z by y. I don't think I have to explain it anymore. So z, you know, r, omega L, everything is known to us. Just divide this and you get the answer like this. So you can see it's not a lossless line because of the presence of r and g, and hence alpha is not 0 in this case. Okay, now moving on to the next problem. The statement is this: a 50 ohm lossless line has a length of 0.4 lambda. So here the length of the transmission line, so line here is used as a short form for transmission line. A 50 ohm lossless line has a length of 0.4 lambda. Length of the line is given in terms of wavelengths. The operating frequency is 300 megahertz. Now if ZL is equal to 40 plus J 30 omega, that is the load impedance, and it is at Z equal to 0, we have to find the reflection coefficient gamma. So much of the data in this problem is redundant for the question asked, because the solution that I am going to discuss here is only for the calculation of reflection coefficient. There are other, and in the process I will explain the use of Smith chart. In fact, the Smith chart can be used for so many other calculations. And these additional data here is for that part of the question which I have not included here. So the question here is purely to find out what is the reflection coefficient. And as I said, some of this data may seem redundant. Anyhow, we will first calculate what we have been asked to find out is the reflection coefficient. So we will first do that using the analytic method. And then I will explain how it is done using the Smith chart. And you can see that if you are used to the Smith chart, if you know how to use the Smith chart, it becomes really easy. Because when you use the analytic method, you have to deal with complex numbers, which makes the whole calculation lengthy and very laborious, cumbersome, so to say. Okay, so let's take the analytic method first. So the reflection coefficient, we know the relation is ZL minus Z0 divided by ZL plus Z0. This was also discussed in one of the earlier videos. So reflection coefficient being ZL minus Z0 by ZL plus Z0, we have all the data here in the given in the problem statement. It's actually a straightforward question. ZL is 40 plus J30, it is mentioned here, and Z0 is 50 ohm, because they say that it is a 50 ohm lossless line. So 50, and they say it is a 50 ohm lossless line, it means the characteristic impedance Z0 is 50 ohms. So 40 plus J30 minus 50, that is ZL minus Z0. This is ZL, this is Z0, divided by ZL plus Z0. So that gives minus 10 plus J30 divided by 90 plus J30, and the answer is J 0.333, which we can also write as 0.333 with an angle of 90 degrees. So that is the analytic method. Though the steps are few, you can see that these calculations can be very cumbersome and laborious. Now, how do we do this using Smith chart? That I will explain here. So what we do first is we normalize the given load impedance by dividing it by the characteristic impedance and end up getting a normalized load impedance, which I will write as small letter ZL. And if you remember, this is how we started to derive the Smith chart. We started to derive the equations which led us to the Smith chart in the previous videos. So we do this first, and consequently we end up getting 40 plus J30 divided by 50, because 40 plus J30 is ZL and Z0 is 50. So when we divide that, we get the normalized load impedance as this 0.8 plus J 0.6, which incidentally is small r plus J small x. Again, I invite your attention to the previous videos wherein we had discussed the derivation of the equations which led us to the Smith chart. Okay, so this means that R is 0.8 and X is 0.6. So now what we do is we take the Smith chart. I will explain it here first, and then I will take the actual Smith chart and tell you how to do it. Because if I straight away go to the actual Smith chart, there are so many lines which can make it a bit difficult to understand. So first I will explain it here, where I have only a few of the circles involved. So this is the Smith chart, if you recall. Gamma R axis, that is the real part of reflection coefficient. Gamma I axis, the imaginary part of the reflection coefficient. And we have already discussed this part of it, that is R is equal to 2 circles, this R is equal to 1 circle is this, the dark one here, and this is the R is equal to 0 circle, and in between you will have other circles of various values for R. R is equal to 3 will be somewhere here, and so on. R is equal to infinity is here, if you recall. And then similarly we have X equal to 2, X equal to 1, X equal to 0.5. Similarly, X equal to minus 0.5, X is equal to minus 1, X is equal to minus 2. In one of my previous videos, I think by mistake I said this is X is equal to 2, but it is actually X is equal to 0.5. Right. Now, for this case, small r is 0.8 and small x is 0.6. So what we do first is we locate r is equal to 0.8 circle on the Smith chart, and that will be somewhere here, because as you can see that as the r value decreases, the radius of the circle increases. So r is equal to 2, r is equal to 1, r is equal to 0. So r is equal to 0.8 will be somewhere here roughly. I will show the actual location in the Smith chart later, but r is equal to 0.8 will be somewhere here. So I have marked it r is equal to 0.8. So this dotted circle corresponds to r is equal to 0.8. And x equal to 0.6. Again, x is equal to 2, x is equal to 1, x is equal to 0.5. So x is equal to 0.6 will be somewhere here, the dotted one here. And x is equal to minus 0.6 will be somewhere here. Anyhow, that is not required right now. So x is equal to 0.6 is this. Maybe I'll write here x equal to 0.6. Now R0.8, this is the one, the dotted one is R0.8. R0.8, x is equal to 0.6. The intersection of these two, this point corresponds to our normalized load impedance. So that I have circled it here. And the reflection coefficient which you can read from this point straight away from the Smith chart is the reflection coefficient that we are looking for. So at this point, if you see, gamma r is 0 and gamma I will have some value which I will show how to get from the actual Smith chart. So there will be some value here which will be the magnitude of gamma I. Sorry, magnitude of gamma, not 7, gamma. Magnitude of gamma will be this, and angle will be 90 degrees. Because, and you can see that gamma is purely imaginary because gamma r is 0. And in fact, if you, when you do this on the Smith chart, you will get the answer as this. Gamma will be J 0.333, which means it is 0.333 with angle of 90. So this will be 0.333 recurring. And this angle, of course, is 90. So now I will show how it is done on a Smith chart. So I have the Smith chart here. I have an actual Smith chart here. I will upload a PDF version of this in the Google Classroom so that you can download this and have it with you. You have to have a hard copy with you because you have to do some calculations on this. Try to have a hard copy of this. Okay, so what we do now is we first locate. So remember, it was R0.8 x 0.6. So R0.8, if you see, these are the R circles. These circles are the R circles for various values of R. And this is R equal to 1, R equal to 1.2, R equal to 1.4. So this is R is equal to 1.3, R is equal to 1.1, R is equal to 0.8 is here. This is R is equal to 0.8, right? So this is R is equal to 0.8, identify that. So it's here. And then you have to see X equal to 0.6. This is X equal to 0.6. Again, you can see that X equal to 2, X equal to 1, X equal to 1.1, X equal to 1.2. So X equal to 0.6 you have to locate. Right. So X 0.6 will be somewhere here. X 0.6. X 0.6 intersecting with R 0.8. X 0.6 intersecting with X 0.6 you can see. And R 0.8. So this is the point. This is the point. Right. So once we do that, we see, so this is the center of the Smith chart. So from there, we can read the angle straight away. This is the point which corresponds to the given normalized load impedance. This is the center. So you can measure the angle here. The angle will be shown here. You can see the angle. Angle of reflection coefficient in degrees. So angle increases like this. So 0, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So you can see it is 90. Of course, since I have not been very precise in marking it because some tolerance will always be there. I have not been very precise in marking this. I am getting an angle which is slightly more than 90. But it is around 90, so we'll take it as 90. So now we have found out what is the angle of the reflection coefficient. It is 90. And then after that, what we do is we measure this using a divider or a compass. We can measure this over here. You can measure this distance, right? And then use this scale. You'll be provided a scale here. Use this scale. And you can see reflection coefficient. It is written here, see, reflection coefficient. reflection coefficient E or I. You have to use that scale and measure the distance from center to the point which we marked over here. So we have this is this distance that we are measuring, right? So 0, it's around 0.33. You can see it is somewhere between 0.3 and 0.4. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 graduation between 0.3 and 0.4. So you are getting something like 0.33, almost 0.33. You can see this distance is 0.33. Can you see here 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, slightly more than 0.3, but fairly close to 0.3, so 0.33. And hence we see that using the Smith chart also we end up getting the same result. Okay, so moving on to the next problem. Again, in this problem, we will discuss some more capabilities of the Smith chart. So the problem statement is this: let ZL, that is the load impedance, be 25 plus J 50 ohms, and let it be at the end of a 50 ohm line. So again, Z0 is 50 ohm. It is a lossless line. Line length is 60 centimeters and the wavelength is 2 meters. So the frequency is such that the wavelength is 2 meters. The operating frequency, operating wavelength is 2 meters. We have to determine Zin, that is the input impedance of the line. So this is the picture, this is the schematic, this is the transmission line which I have shown here in the form of a block. It's just a schematic that I have used. You can see ZL here at Z equal to 0, we have the load impedance which is 25 plus J50, and at Z is equal to, say, arbitrarily, where S is greater than 0, we have the source or the generator. So signal generator is here. It is at Z is equal to S. Z equal to 0, you have the load ZL, which is 25 plus J50. Length of the transmission line is 0.6 meters. So actually Z is 0.6 meters because this is Z0. Z is equal to S, you have the generator or the source, 0.6 meters. This S has to be 0.6 meters. Lambda is 2 meters. Z0 is 50 ohms. And we have to find out the input impedance using the Smith chart. So in the previous problem, we discussed how to use the Smith chart to calculate the reflection coefficient. So there's a little bit of theory which I have to explain here to make you understand how we can use the Smith chart to calculate the input impedance. Now the impedance at any point Z, at any Z of the transmission line, at any point on the Z transmission line, the impedance, the normalized impedance is Vz by Iz. So Vz is the potential at that point and Iz is the current at that point. If I divide Vz by Iz and then multiply that result with 1 by Z0 or normalize with respect to the characteristic impedance, I will get the normalized impedance at any point on the line. And that turns out to be 1 by Z0 into, this is something that one of the very first videos on transmission lines we had discussed this. It is a lossless line. So V plus e raised to j beta z, that is the forward propagating, plus V minus e raised to minus j beta z, the backward, the reflected propagating, and divided by the current Iz will be I plus e raised to j beta z plus I minus e raised to minus j beta z, which we can write by dividing throughout with V plus e raised to j beta z. Even this was discussed earlier. By dividing with this throughout, we get 1 plus reflection coefficient e raised to minus j2 beta z divided by 1 minus, again you are dividing with this, 1 minus reflection coefficient e raised to minus j2 beta z. You can just go through one of the previous videos. You will find that this is indeed what we get when we divide the numerator and denominator of this with V plus e raised to j beta z. Okay, so the normalized impedance, normalized with respect to the characteristic impedance at any point Z of the transmission line is given by this expression. And if Of course, needless to say, if z is substituted as 0 in this, you get 1 plus gamma by 1 minus gamma. And since z is equal to 0, the impedance at z equal to 0 has to be the load impedance. 1 plus gamma by 1 minus gamma should give us the normalized load impedance. So if I write here like this, if z is equal to 0, we get this as equal to the normalized load impedance. Again, this was also discussed earlier, so just to recall. Now, since the reflection coefficient is complex in general, we write it as magnitude of gamma e raised to j phi. This is also known, which means that we can write this part. That is the normalized impedance at any z on the transmission line, at any z of your choice on the transmission line, is 1 plus magnitude gamma, capital gamma, that is the reflection coefficient, e raised to j phi minus 2 beta z. Similarly, divided by 1 minus magnitude gamma e raised to j phi minus 2 beta z. Okay, now if z is equal to 0.5 lambda in this, if z is equal to 0.5 lambda, 2 beta z becomes 2 into 2 pi by lambda into 0.5 lambda, that is equal to 2 pi. So whenever z is equal to 0.5 lambda, this becomes 2 pi, which means that this as a whole becomes 1 plus gamma divided by 1 minus gamma, because 2 beta z e raised to j 2 beta z becomes e raised to j minus 2 beta z becomes e raised to j minus 2 pi, which is nothing but 1. So whenever z is this, you end up getting the same as what this will be when z is 0. Or whenever z is equal to, for example, even 1 lambda, you will end up getting what this will be when z is equal to 0. So what we understand from this is that impedance at z equal to 0, impedance at z is equal to 0, impedance at z is equal to 0.5 lambda, this is z is equal to 0, so impedance at z is equal to 0, impedance at z is equal to 0.5 lambda, so I'll just show it here. Let's say this is 0.5 lambda. So impedance here is anyhow ZL. Impedance when Z is equal to 0.5 lambda towards the source, towards the generator, when this is 0.5 lambda, this impedance here is also ZL. The impedance here, another 0.5 lambda, is also ZL. The impedance here is also ZL, right? So what happens is, as you proceed away from the load towards the generator, for every lambda by 2, the impedance you encounter on the transmission line will be the same as the load impedance. That is the point to be kept in mind. Now let us say that you have calculated the impedance somewhere for this z, let's say, some other z. This is some other z which is between 0 and pi by lambda by 2. Let's say some z, right? You calculated the impedance here. And how do you get that impedance? Let's say this is z dash for convenience. Let's say this is z dash for convenience. And we get the input impedance, the impedance here on the transmission line by substituting this z as z dash. We just have to substitute this z as z dash. Now if I go lambda by 2 this direction towards the generator, the impedance here should also be the same as what is the impedance here, because you have gone an extra distance of lambda by 2. So z dash plus lambda by 2. By the same argument earlier, you will end up getting this as the same as what it is when z is equal to z dash, as well as when z is equal to z dash plus lambda by 2. Z dash plus lambda. So the point here is that whatever impedance you have at a particular point on the transmission line, you will end up getting the same impedance as you move lambda by 2 units on the transmission line towards the source. That is the point. Now this has to be somehow, if we can show this somehow in the Smith chart, some more calculations can be performed. So this is usually shown on the Smith chart like this. So recall that one trip around the Smith chart takes you to the same reflection coefficient. So let's say that our reflection coefficient, again I'll just mark it on this. Let's say our reflection coefficient is corresponding to some point. Let's say this is our reflection coefficient. So there is some R circle passing through this, some X circle that corresponds to our normalized load. Let's say this is our reflection coefficient. Now suppose I go around the Smith chart once, I reach the same point and I end up getting the same reflection coefficient. Now this going around the Smith chart is akin to traversing through the transmission line from a particular point towards the generator a distance of lambda by 2. Because as I said, if I traverse towards the generator a distance of lambda by 2, I end up getting the same impedance. So one round around the transmission line, one round around the Smith chart is akin to going towards the generator from a point on the transmission line a distance of lambda by 2. So we arbitrarily choose this as the starting point 0, and one round around is taken as 0.5 lambda, which means that this will be 0.25 lambda. Look at the black colored letters now. This will be 0.25 lambda. This will be 0.375. This will be 0.125 lambda. And finally, when you come here, it becomes 0.5 lambda. And this is WTG, that is wavelengths towards generator, because I am discussing now movement towards generator. Now, by a similar argument, if I move from a point towards the load, I will be moving in this direction from a point on the transmission line towards the load. If I move, I will be moving in this direction, and that also brings me to the same impedance if I move a distance of 0.5 lambda towards the load, and hence we show that as wavelength towards the load. Again, this 0 is taken as this point itself. Now you can look at the blue colored letters here: 0.125 lambda, 0.25 lambda, 0.375 lambda, and back 0.5 lambda, you come back. So this is how we usually show this on the transmission, on the Smith chart. This is how we show the fact that if you move a distance of 0.5 lambda towards or away, that is towards the load or towards the generator, you'll end up getting the same impedance as what you had from the point at the point where you started your movement. Now that is how we show this. So there will be an additional set of numbers which you will see around the Smith chart. Now with the help of this, we can solve the problem wherein we have been asked to find out the input impedance. Okay, so we go ahead with the problem like this. First we calculate the normalized load impedance. ZL is given in the statement of the problem. You can see that ZL is 25 plus J50. So 25 plus J50 divided by Z0. Z0 is given to be 50 because it is said that it is a 50 ohm line. So 25 plus J50 by 50, we get 0.5 plus J. So this is our normalized load impedance. R is 0.5, X is 1. So what we do is we locate R.5 on the Smith chart as I explained earlier. R.5 will be somewhere like this. Again, I will show this on the actual Smith chart. X equal to 1 will be this. And this will be the point corresponding to the given normalized load impedance. And you can calculate the magnitude of the reflection coefficient and the angle of the reflection coefficient from the chart. Now once we do this, we got the reflection coefficient. Now what we do is we extend this. We extend this so that it intersects the, again of course that is how we find the angle of the reflection coefficient, but we now have some additional numbers. So we extend this and we see that it touches a number which is like 0.135 marked on wavelength towards generator side. So as I said earlier, wavelengths towards generator you have 0, then 0.125, 0.25, 0.375. So in this case what happens is that it is intersecting with 0.135, 0.125 will be somewhere here. So it intersects with 0.135. Now, since remember we are trying to find the input impedance. Since the wavelength is 2 meters, it's given in the statement of the problem. If you see here, lambda is 2 meters. Lambda is 2 meters. So since the wavelength is given as 2 meters, we know that the length of the transmission line, which is 0.6 meters, is equal to 0.3 lambda. Length of the transmission line is 0.6 meters. And since lambda is 2 meters, 0.6 meters will be 0.3 lambda. That means, what it means is that, suppose I had moved around 0.5 lambda, I would have reached the same impedance on the transmission line. Now what is happening is that the input impedance which I have to find out is at a distance of 0.3 lambda from the load. The input impedance which I have to find out is at a distance of 0.3 lambda from the load. So instead of going full 0.5 lambda, I have to go only 0.3. So when I go 0.3 towards this direction, because it is wavelengths towards generator, when I go 0.3 in this direction, what I do is I add 0.3 to this and I reach 0.435. It will be somewhere here, because again if you see 0.375 is here, 0.375 is here, and 0.5 is here. So 0.435 will be somewhere here. Again I will show it using the actual Smith chart. And what we do is we draw a circle of this radius. We draw a circle of this radius because magnitude of gamma remains the same. If you see here, magnitude of gamma remains the same. It's only the phase part which changes, and phase part decreases by minus 2 beta z. It is decreasing. That is why we move the clockwise direction. So magnitude remains the same, and since you have moved 0.3 lambda, 0.135 plus 0.3, you reach here. Now you have to see you have to find out what is the r and x corresponding to this point. Now there will be some r corresponding to this point. I cannot show it exactly here. We will see it on the actual Smith chart. There will be some r corresponding to this, and there will be some x. Okay, now that r plus jx gives us the input impedance, and it turns out that when we do this actually on the Smith chart, you'll end up getting r as 0.28 and x as minus 0.4. You see that you are on the negative side of x. You'll get x as minus 0.4, which means that Zin is that the normalized input impedance is 0.28 minus j 0.4, and the actual Zin will be normalized Zin multiplied by the Z0 of the line, which is 50 ohms. So 50 into 0.28 minus j 0.4 ends up getting 14.j20 ohms. Now, how do we do this on an actual Smith chart? Let us take the Smith chart now. So we have a Smith chart again here. You may have to use a different Smith chart for each problem, because sometimes you will draw so many lines that later on you will find it confusing. So we had r as 0.5 and x as equal to 1. So r 0.5 is this, and x1 is this, x1. R 0.5 x1. So this is the point. So I will mark it with a pen now. This Smith chart may not be of any use. Now I may have to go for a new one since I am going to mark with a pen here. So remember, x is 1, R is 0.5. And you just extend this to the origin. Again, I am going to draw with a pen. This is the 0.135 that I was talking about. So you can see here 0.12, 0.13 wavelengths toward generator. It may not be visible in the video, but if you have the Smith chart with you, I am sending, as I said, I have a PDF version of this in Google Classroom. Wavelengths towards generator, WTG I wrote earlier, 0.04, 0.05 and so on. So over here, it is 0.13, 0.14. In between, it will be around 0.135. So that is what I said. Okay, now we don't have to actually calculate the reflection coefficient. If at all you have to, you can simply use this method which I had explained earlier. Okay, now this will be the magnitude of the reflection coefficient and this will be the angle, but here we are actually trying to find out the input impedance. So we draw a circle now. Let's draw a circle. Draw a circle. Right, so almost done. Yeah, so we have a circle now. And 0.3 lambda towards the generator takes it exactly to the generator. 0.3 lambda from the load takes us exactly to the generator. So if I add 0.3 to this, as I explained earlier, I end up getting 0.435. 0.435, this is 0.42, 0.43, 0.44, 0.435 should be somewhere here. So again, I'll draw a line, straight line from the origin. So the magnitude gamma, if you go back to the expression, magnitude gamma remains the same. That is why we kept the circle radius as the same. This point you have to now find out what is the R and X, and that will be our normalized input impedance. So this R is slightly more than 0.3, in the sense slightly away from 0.3, 0.4, 0.3, 0.2. So this R will be slightly away from 0.3 towards 0.2. That means slightly less than 0.3, so to say. So we can take that R as 0.28. Or maybe when you do it afresh, you may get it as 0.29. But okay, some tolerance is always allowed when you're using the Smith chart. And the X will be, you can see the X here. This could be that X. This could be that X, which is 0.4, or maybe somewhere very close to 0.4. But since you are on this side of the Smith chart, you will take it as minus 0.4. So you take it as minus 0.4 and you get the same value as what was discussed here. R is 0.28, X is equal to minus 0.4. Of course, as I said, some difference is allowed. Maybe you may read this as 0.3, but it's okay. And then you have Z in as 0.28 minus J 0.4, as I explained earlier, and you end up getting this as a result.